If Jesus would have been a pastor, he would have had a mega church. Like we know the story about the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Like they all came to hear him preach.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Confab Experience. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing?
Hi. Wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Well, on this episode of the Confab Experience, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Gerald Davis with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm not that special, but I mean, I will take away I'll take the compliment.
Everyone is special.
You said very special, though.
Okay. Well, we have a relatively special guest today. Gerald joins us. He is a gospel recording artist, a worship leader, a preacher, a singer, a songwriter, a pianist, and a podcast host, folks.
Wow.
A Renaissance man, apparently. His show is titled Gospel Music Talk, Preaching to the Choir. I love that. He's also a husband, a father of 3 girls, and supposedly the best spades player you'd ever know.
Supposedly is not in my bio. Supposedly is not in my bio.
Station may take issue. Station is my best friend, so I have to say supposedly.
Station might take issue with that.
I do take issue with that one.
Saying, don't ask me for my bio if you're not going to read it.
Fair.
Well, then I'll just stop there and welcome to the show.
It's great coming out, ladies. I'll see you soon. I'm joking, ladies. I am.
Anyway, yes, but no, welcome. He is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And he says his main goal anytime he takes the stage is to introduce Jesus and then get out of the way. So welcome, Gerald. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, Gerald.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here, ladies. I love y'all show. Y'all show is super dope. Y'all,
thank you.
And I think as the guest, I have the liberty to say that I don't have to say that. Like
you don't have to.
I can hate your show and just be trying to plug my show. But no, I love y'all's show. So I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you. So you are a gospel recording artist. Tell us a little bit about how you got into gospel music. Was there someone who inspired you? Was it always just sort of, you always knew something you wanted to do? Let us know.
Yeah. So, how I got into gospel music, I think the more important thing before I got into gospel music is how I got into gospel, which is how I got into Jesus. So, I was a little 5-year-old kid. I was a Care Bear. I was the pink Care Bear. It was a dream. Don't judge me. It was the 80s. And I was in the waiting room of heaven, and I went in, and the angel was showing me around, and he was looking on the list, and he said, "Oh, I don't see your name there." And right when he said that, the devil popped out from the clouds. He put his arms around my shoulders, his legs around my legs, and we fell from heaven through earth and landed in hell.
What?
And
this was a dream you had when you were
5 years old. You had this dream?
5 years old.
That's
5 years old.
I can see that changing your life.
and as soon as I hit in hell, I woke up, boom, and I ran to my mom's room. Mama, I don't want to go to hell. And she said, "Well, if you don't want to go to hell, then you got to get saved." And I was like, "Okay, Mama." And she led me into the sinner's prayer at 5 years old. I don't know if she was just so in tune with God at that moment, or if she just wanted me to shut up and go back to sleep. Either way, I'm glad that we did. So that started my Christian journey. Fast forward to about 17 years old. I was in high school. I was a teenager. What Christianity doesn't tell you is they don't tell you about puberty. So, they don't tell you.
Come up a lot. I gotta tell you, I've been in church my whole life. We don't really talk about it that often.
I've never heard a puberty message. So I'm going through my teenage years, and everything is everywhere, and all of this stuff. Having a rough time as a Christian, I'll say that. So but I'm in the gospel choir, ironically enough, at school. And I do want to take the time to say that my high school choir teacher, Miss Jewel Kelly, she changed my life. She may have changed my life. She may have saved my life. Um, she was taking these little young Black hooligans, and we were singing classical music, and we were speaking in other languages, and we were traveling all across the world, and we learned how to read music and all of that good stuff.
Wow.
And we were becoming cultured. 14, 15, 16, 17, absolutely crazy. Changed my life.
Yeah, arts in schools is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and when tough times comes, it's the first thing that they want to take away.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Of course.
But
Doesn't make any money. That's why.
But the thing that they lean on the most in rough times, but that's neither here nor there. So in the spring semester, we had what's called Gospel Fest. Gospel Fest was where all the high schools in the city would get together and sing a gospel song. Well, Jewel Kelly taught Kirk Franklin, and
Wow.
there was a lot of the family. If y'all remember the family, Silver and Gold, reason why I sing blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Went to Wyatt, taught by my teacher, Miss Jewel Kelly. So one of the guys there, by the name of Daryl Blair. I don't know if you may not recognize his name, but you'll recognize his voice. On What You're Looking For. I've been searching for someone to love me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you say Daryl Blairel?
I'm from Texas, y'all. Excuse my draw. Daryl Blair.
Okay.
Oh, Blair.
Okay.
Blair.
Gotcha.
Like Blair Underwood. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. yes.
So
Gotcha.
he wrote this song. He arranged this song, Our Blessed Assurance. It changed my life. One day I'll play it for y'all. It's amazing. Next year, he wrote this song called He Knows. Sometimes I ask God why so much pain and hurt in my life, but he knows just how much we can bear.
Yeah.
Now I understand why weeping endures for a night. He knows how much we can bear. And that changed my life. And I saw him write that song from nothing. And I was like, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Right.
And I started, and 20 years later, here we are.
Wow.
Wow.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So wait, the Blessed Assurance song, is it Blessed Assurance? Is that the
Yes, it is.
He wrote that song?
He did not write that song.
Oh,
That would be
I was like, that's in the hymnal.
that would be like witchcraft if he's dead, because
He's still
it's
alive.
at least 100 years old. Yeah.
All
I see
right.
this women like, yeah, he wrote that.
That's what I thought I heard you
I
say.
wouldn't have let it rock.
I
I
was
wouldn't have
like,
let it rock.
we sing
But no.
that in church. Okay.
No, there was an arrangement of Blessed Assurance that he arranged, and it's like the most beautiful thing that you would ever hear in your life, and it just changed me. It just changed me. So from there, I would start writing songs. Most of them sucked, but then one day I wrote a song and it didn't suck, and
I love that. I really
That's all
do.
it takes.
What was that
yeah,
song?
Like you keep writing sucky songs until you get one that don't suck.
That's generally how it is. When you start developing and anything that's worth anything, you got to get through the sucky stage. And most people don't want to go through the stage of embarrassment and insecurity and not being so good.
Yeah.
And
In front of people.
in front of people,
Yeah.
and that's the hard thing. So what we'll do is we'll always present ourselves as finished products, and that limits us so much, because if all you do is present what you're good at, you'll only present one or two things, and then you're really not that effective anymore, because you stop learning and you start fronting to pretend like I have everything that's all together. People who innovate, when a baby learns how to walk, it's the ugliest process you will ever see in your life. it's clumsy,
so
and they're
true.
tripping over themselves, and they're falling, and they're getting scabs, and they're getting bruised. But us as parents, when we see them, because we seen where they came from, oh my
Right.
God, they're making progress. What a great milestone. But
Right.
if you have no connection to it, you're like, man, that doesn't look so good. It doesn't
Right.
look so good.
Right.
Put them on a
But
track with some Olympic runners, and it's not great.
it's not great. But
Yeah.
but that baby to be your Olympic runner, Siobhan, with the B, um, you have to have all those ugly necessary steps.
Moments. Yeah.
And yeah, that was, so I think that was like the significance of, like, I would write a lot of good songs, and I mean I would write a lot of songs and they weren't that good, but one day there was one, and then there was another one, and then there was another one, and there was another one, and here we are.
Okay.
So you've mentioned some very classically accepted gospel artists like Kirk Franklin, but some controversy has come up when secular artists collab with gospel artists like Nicki Minaj and Tasha Cobb. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the subject of secular plus gospel.
It's interesting. I could take it or leave it. I could honestly, I could take it or leave it.
Strong feelings either way.
Yeah, I mean, I know the answer is supposed to be that, I'm inclusive and I want to see everybody. I don't.
You don't? Wait.
I don't. I'm not necessarily a fan of secular artists doing gospel music, and this is why.
Okay.
Reason being is that the track record is that when most secular artists does gospel music of some sort, they're at the end of their career. Like, they're not in the prime of their, like, Jay-Z's he's not getting with Rance Allen. That's not happening. Like, most artists who's on the tail end of their career or need some type of whatever, they'll let me go hop in the gospel arena and do something because I told my grandmama that I will make a gospel record, or whatever the case. And
that's legitimately the reason Snoop Dogg gave. And he had the #1 gospel album of the year it came out, the year Snoop Dogg's gospel album came out.
Well, getting the #1 gospel album, that's not really that hard to do. I mean, it's not. It's not, because as much as we love gospel, and as much as I love gospel, and all you beautiful ladies and all of you wonderful listeners out there that's listening to gospel, it's such a small genre in the overall market of music.
Yeah.
It just is. A #1 gospel album can sell 1,500 units in a week, and it's #1 in the country.
Gotcha.
Like,
Right, okay.
Justin Bieber sells 1,500 in his back alley,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so having said that, because the gospel arena is so niche and it's so underfunded, I feel like that secular artists who are not really about living that life, they're like, oh man, let me just go ahead and hop on this gospel song, and it dilutes the overall genre. And it brings eyes to it, and then it's like, oh man, you let such and such on this song, and then so what about you? And then if it was one thing where that artist was like, okay, I'm gonna do this Jesus thing, let me kick it off with this gospel album or this gospel song, that'd be one thing. But they go and they do it, and then they go back to doing their thing.
Right.
But can I have a counter argument to that? Like, so you just spoke about like your teacher who was highly influential in your world. There could be somebody, and I think the reason why I don't have that much of a problem with it is because there could be someone who isn't really like listening to gospel music, but they are listening to a Nicki Minaj, and then they hear this song that happens to have a gospel artist on there, and that's the song that Jesus is using to like get the message like that touches their heart. And so I don't know, it feels like you just never know. If the goal is to make sure that everybody knows his name and knows who he is, I just don't know how we why it matters how. What'd you say, Moni?
I said limit
how the message gets out there. But I can see, like, if we're talking about these different industries, if we're talking as an industry, that don't come over here because we're trying to do this. But if we're talking about what the purpose of the gospel is, then I don't have an issue with it. But if we're talking business, I get it.
And I agree to a 50% degree. That's why I could take it or leave it.
Okay.
So, I don't like, I'm not really moved one way or the other. I'm not like, oh my God, Nicki Minaj is here now. The world is going to know Jesus' name. Jesus don't need Nicki Minaj. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But it's, but it does bring eyes to an artist like Tasha Cobbs Leonard. And, you know, I'll always take that. Paul said in the Bible, I can't be the gospel guy and not bring up the Bible at least once. Paul said that some plants and some waters, but it's ultimately God who gives the increase.
Mm-hmm.
So whether a Nicki Minaj is planting a seed or whether they're watering the seed or whatever the case is happening, it's ultimately God's will, and God is sovereign. And if all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and the call according to his purpose, then Nicki Minaj falls into that all thing. Snoop falls into that all thing. And, you know, so that in that regard, you know, I can take it. I personally don't enjoy it. I thought her verse was whack. But
Fair.
From musical's perspective, thumbs down.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it though. So, you know, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I love the one or two tracks on the end of Mariah Carey, every one of Mariah Carey's albums. It's normally a gospel track. I appreciate it.
I love when Destiny's Child did some gospel too.
And you know what too?
He's like,
I mean, like I get it and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the tribute, but I don't necessarily take it as them spreading the gospel message. I take it as this is a tribute to my roots.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So sense. It's, you know, it's an arrow, and God will use it however he'll use it. But like, I don't necessarily see them aiming that with the point of ministry. If you know,
that's fair.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's a good
take
point.
it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
50%.
I'll say this. And I know we're going to move on, but the Kanye album was quite a popular topic for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I loved it.
Some of the arrangements of some of the songs, like, oh gosh.
You guys listened to it?
Yeah,
I did.
I couldn't do it.
I did.
Did you like it, Leanna?
I liked some of it. I felt overall it was a bit indulgent,
as he tends to be.
Yeah.
It's Kanye.
Yeah.
And
a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. And for it being a gospel album, it was very him-centered.
Yeah,
not
I was going to say
H,
what I like all of the arrangement of the choir stuff, like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff was like, oh man, that's so dope. But you know, when he starts saying stuff, I'm like, okay, I could have left without. I could have had without that part.
But I also think that it was very indicative of where he is in his walk. You know, like
Absolutely,
he's so new to it, and you could hear that. You know, so it's not like he would know I mean, he's a narcissist, so like he hasn't moved to the point where he would be the center.
So I'm looking at something that I want to make sure that I'm not that I'm doing the scripture justice. When you said that it was so him-centered, so if we're all aware of the fruits of the spirit, this is kind of like the litmus test of how you can tell a Christian is walking in the spirit and not of the flesh.
Mhm.
This is basically, this is how you can tell if somebody is generally in the will of God.
Mhm.
Fruits of the spirit. It's joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Joy, peace, long suffering. Oh, those are me-centered.
Mhm.
Like, I have joy, I have peace, I have patience. As you start your Christian walk, because he's saying Kanye is very, very much a baby, everything is about you.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how it is. It's like, okay, I'm saved now, and I'm not going to hell. I'm not going to hell. You know, it's all good. Let me learn my Bible. Let me learn how to pray. Let me learn how to give. Let me go. It's all about me. Just in the same way as a baby, as they're growing up, a baby is all about them.
Yeah.
A baby is not really, babies are the most selfish people that you'll ever meet in your life.
That is
I mean,
true.
children up until what age? Like 18, right? Like
Definitely not 15.
Basically, yeah. So in the same, and as you grow older, as you mature, you start to realize a little bit more and more and more that the world doesn't revolve around you. And it's the same way in Christianity. So in that regard, I give Kanye a little bit of a pass, because yeah, it is all about me, but that's
Mhm.
generally what babies Christians focus on. It's all about them.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right. Well, let's slide back over to our
All right,
questions. then.
refocus.
Jesus.
Yes. the
loves
Lord.
us, this we know.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about church a little bit. So one of the things that we've talked about before, I know Stacia and I talked about, is how in the past the church, I don't mean the spiritual church, I mean the physical entity of the church, was like the cornerstone of communities. We fed the people, we clothed the people. Everybody kind of came there for their political activists, met you at the church, and now it seems like that's not necessarily the case all of the time. And I just wanted to know, are churches still relevant? And do they keep up with the times? Have we kept up with the times?
Are churches still relevant? Yes. Have churches kept up with the times? No.
No.
And I don't think that churches, the black church, I'll say the black church specifically, because I'm black.
So you can say it.
Because I can say it. I feel like that the black church has always been, at least technology-wise, since I was born, at least 5 to 10 years behind.
Always.
At least.
Always behind.
And culture-wise, every time that there's a shift, any type of shift, whether it's music or entertainment or political beliefs or what you call the black man, whatever the case, there's always been this initial resistance, and call it the devil, and we don't want any part of it. And then the rest of the world progresses, and then the church says, they may not be so wrong after all.
Right.
And then you spend time playing catch up. And if you do that for a couple of decades, you'll find yourself still in your Sunday morning service in the 90s singing songs from the 70s. But then as you get a little bit older, you get a little bit older, and then you start doing it, you have a little bit more grace, and realize that these were people that their only education was what they heard.
Yeah.
So if education wasn't as, they don't have as much access as what we have. They have the art of storytelling and passing stuff down from their pastors and their elders and their parents and their leaders. And if that was, 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 decades removed from slavery and civil rights and all of that good stuff,
Yeah.
Like
it's
a
not
bad
going to
game of
be
telephone.
it's not going to be as well-rounded as what we have right now.
Right.
so I kind of gave them a pass in that sense that they're just trying to hold up the banner.
Mm.
And for that, I can't fault them. I think we got a lot of catching up to do. I think we got a lot of catching up to do because
like, are you saying that the churches that are more relevant are more like teaching churches?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and in order to be relevant, you need to not just have, and I'm simplifying it, but not just have the worship part, but you need to have the like the learn message part, so that people can walk away and live their Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah, and I don't want to diminish worship. Worship is absolutely essential.
Yes.
You know, yeah, but it's there's a preaching that's a presentation, which is all good. But if you can't take away something from that to say, when I have this situation, this is what I hold on to,
yeah.
then you're in trouble.
You know what, Gerald? I always say, I think, especially in the Black church, we got, you know, there was so much going on in our lives. There was so much heaviness that church was just, it really wasn't about teaching about God or about like the Bible. It really was about feel good, make it to the next week. And I think we got too wrapped up in that. And I like what I think that's kind of what you're saying too. Like, we got to get past to the point where we're learning and really understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if we're careful, and even right now, it's a kind of a different thing. But it's a different thing, but it's the same thing. I think if we're careful, we can get so enamored in the presentation of church that we'll lose the purpose of church.
So along those same lines, right? One of the things that I think that I've seen a lot more is not that just me, but the rise of like mega churches. And the personal struggle that I have, because I actually attend one, is that it almost feels like it takes away a sense of community. What do you think the role and purpose of a mega church is? And do you think that they're keeping up with the time and that's why people are coming a little bit more or flocking more toward the church, even if like fellowship is like going by the wayside?
Yeah, and you know, and I would be interested to see examples of a fellowship not being there in mega churches. Because the bigger you are, to keep a community, the smaller you have to become.
Yeah.
And over the last 10 years, especially, there's been a huge influx and rise of small groups and cell groups and meeting at the house and so on and so forth and rah. And the argument that I hate to use argument, but it's late here, so we're just gonna say argument.
Right.
but the argument that most make is that mega church, it doesn't feel like the church that I grew up in. It feels so business, or it feels so corporate, or it feels so professional, or whatever the case. I grew up in a church that there were never more than 75 people there in attendance, and maybe like 25 of them came on Sunday. You know what I mean? But and even still, those had cliques. You know what I mean? Like, even in my little bitty church, like, I wasn't the cool kid. I wasn't the one that was getting called on. Like, I wasn't that guy. I was one of the three boys of the single mother that the church kind of took in and was helping her raise her boys. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to the dinners and I wasn't going to the after service. That wasn't me. So, and that's in a church of less than 100 people.
Right.
So that happens in a church of 20,000.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be cliques. There's always going to be groups. There's always going to be,
you can be connected if you want to be connected, no matter where you're going.
Yeah, and exactly. And but I think it presents different challenges. But I mean, if Jesus would have been a pastor, he would have had a mega church. You know, like we know the story about the 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread. like they all came to hear him preach. You know what I mean? And it was
Great perspective.
it was 5,000 men. So the women and children wasn't even counted. So if you were being generous and say every man had one wife and one kid, that's 15,000 people,
right,
just to hear Jesus preach. So the word draws people. It absolutely does. So I have no problem with mega churches. I have problems with mega churches that doesn't keep the main thing the main thing. And you know, it's you know.
So then let me ask you this then, because it's 2020.
Yes.
And we're on a Zoom call, like right now. That's how we record our podcast, because no one can
having
really
a great
get
time,
together.
by the way, ladies.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've seen this shift, and I think what mega churches actually have done really well, because they are sort of more technologically advanced, probably because they're better funded, but is they were able to like make the switch when everyone had to go home. They were like, oh yeah, well, we live stream anyway, right? Essentially, that's what we do, so no problem. But I think smaller churches had a lot harder time adjusting to the environment where they were based on kind of face-to-face in-person fellowship. So in those cases, how do people sort of stay connected while also being safe, like socially distanced and safe?
Yeah. Okay. So that's it's a wonderful question, and I want to go back just a little bit and then come back to it. That how we kind of talked about the church will initially say bad, 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 and then we'll kind of look and say, oh, that's not so bad after all.
Right.
This pandemic and the adjustment is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 17 years ago, Facebook was the devil. Facebook was the devil, and you shouldn't be on that, and it's nothing but this, and it's nothing but that, and blah, blah, blah,
Last year
blah,
for some churches.
Last year for some churches. Last week for some
Right.
churches. And pandemic happens, have to socially distance. Now everybody's live streaming their service on Facebook.
Yeah.
But 4 years ago, it was the devil. And the churches that didn't adjust to what was happening in culture, I'm not saying conform to culture, but that didn't adjust to what was happening in culture, now they're scrambling trying to keep up.
Right.
Teach me how to do these live services. Teach me how to broadcast this thing.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of where a lot of ministry Christians are at this point. It's like you want to do what your purpose is, but you can't.
Right.
So true.
So it's frustrating in that sense. Like
even with Facebook or Zoom services, it's not the same. Like you know, they have to come to you. They gotta they gotta know the link to the Zoom. They gotta know that you're live on Facebook. You're not getting out there on the streets. You're not, you know.
Yeah. You know how stupid you feel preaching to a screen, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it takes the human element out of it. I mean, you see the face, but you don't get the energy, you know.
As one of the worship leaders at my church, I completely understand. It was very awkward before we were able to go back into the building, trying to like, you know, you feel, you know, connection, trying to sing to a track to the computer.
You feel like an idiot. You feel like
not quite the same. You don't feel it.
Right.
Come on, if you love Jesus, type in some fire emojis. You know, it just
it's at your house though, Mo.
Say it again.
Half the worship team's at your house though.
Sometimes, not right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, but I think it's a time of reset for the Christian, because so many times you can get so busy in ministry that if I'm being honest, and I think that that's what this show is, you get so busy in ministry that you forget God in ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens so much. And like you pray and you pray because you got to, because like who doesn't pray? But like you're not praying for communication, you're not praying for guidance, you're not praying for relationship. You're praying for duty, and then you serve for duty. And then if you're not doing your duty, like people are looking at you, and then you're like, oh my God, I can't let people see that I'm weak or I'm broken or I'm disconnected or something like that. So you dig in even more.
Mm-hmm.
And there are moments in church, in a service, where God reels you back in and realigns you. And those moments are not there. That's why I honestly think that you are seeing so many Christians right now, like on social media, like just really wilding out.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and I think a lot of that is that Scripture says, "Don't forsake the assembling of yourselves." I think the lack of the assembly part is taking away the conviction. And if you don't have any conviction, then you start doing, when you don't have convictions, then reason becomes stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Nobody here in my house with me. So I could be reading the Bible, or I could be doing this other thing.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then suggestions come in. The devil never comes in and says, hey, let me give you this fresh plate of sin. Like,
right.
It never happens. Otherwise, you're like, oh no, that's sin. That's terrible. What he generally does is he comes in with suggestions.
Yeah.
Just suggestions.
Yeah.
Like, didn't God say that if you eat of this fruit, you would surely die? But will you really die?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just that suggestion.
Yeah.
And if you notice that when Eve got tempted and she got the fruit, she was away from God, and she was away from Adam.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that she was a woman and, oh my God, the woman are weak, so they should be under us. No, not that. It's not that. But she was isolated.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're isolated, you don't have the strength of your brethren and of your family to say, hey, no, sis, I know it sounds good, but no, that ain't the way. And that's where we're at right now. I mean, we're having Zooms and we're having whatever. But in those moments, we really don't have people in our life saying, hey, no, sis, that ain't the way.
Yeah.
And then we start making those little, I mean, like, cussing ain't that bad. I mean, damn is in the Bible and ass is a donkey and like really what kind of sin? And then, you know what I mean? And then you start inching a little bit further and a little bit further. And then Paul says you can have a glass of wine. And then wine is, I mean, but isn't what if you have a clear? And then, you know, it's like, it's just one shot. And then it's just, you say you can drink, but don't get drunk. And then you start making all of these little concessions.
Right.
And I'll invite him over my house and we can just Netflix and chill. And all his hand is on my leg. But I say you're not really doing anything. And then 9 months later, here you are with the you know what I mean? It's like,
oh wow.
So it's all of these like little bitty steps that if we were connected to a body, we could get reeled in a whole lot quicker.
Yeah.
So tell all of our listeners where they can find the episode, where they can find you, where they can find your music. Let everybody know what you got.
You can find my music. I have a song out, Can't Contain My Praise. Sing it at your church. You can find it anywhere music is right now. I think it's pretty good. My kids like it, so you know, there's that.
Are you on Spotify?
I am on Spotify. That was my neck. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm on
I had my phone ready to look it up. I'm sorry.
No. Absolutely on Spotify. Just search for Gerald Davis. Yeah, it's there. Full album is coming out soon. You can also search. You can also find my podcast show on Spotify. Gospel Music Talk, Preaching to the Choir, and it's a lot of other places. Podbean, Spreaker, all of that other stuff. For some reason, Apple is taking its time, man. So
They do.
Yeah.
They're
So
very
it'll-
picky.
it'll eventually be there.
Bougie.
Instagram, you can find me at Gerald Davis Art, and don't slide in my DMs. You leave a comment first, and then we'll go from there. So, but it was Mo. It was gonna be Black Keys and Conversations, but Mo said no, make it Preaching to the Choir.
I like that.
Oh, okay,
That's good.
Changing the world.
yeah.
Man. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's
Absolutely.
like the most engaging conversation that we've had this season. It was really, really good.
Oh, thank you.
I had lost track of time actually talking to you, so highly entertaining. But you know what? Let's keep the fun going. So as you know, because you're such a big fan of ours, that we like to play games on the Confab experience. We're big on games. I feel it's sort of like after a conversation, we need like some game in our
It's
life
true.
right now.
It's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, listeners, stick around. We've got more show coming up.
I think Monique has a game. for us.
I do. Okay, so we're gonna play a game. One's gotta go.
Oh my
Oh.
God, I hate these.
Yeah, I know this one. And being that you are a songwriter,
Okay.
we're
Lord.
gonna go for the songwriter edition.
Oh my Lord.
Okay. So everybody, we'll all answer. And I was thinking about going gospel music, but I decided to go some old school, like something that's really gonna hurt if it go right.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
All right. So we
Gerald
got
really
Steve.
looks like he's in pain. Before
I
he even
know.
hears what the answer,
No, he's
the people
he's a
are.
songwriter. This is gonna hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Stevie Wonder.
Mm.
Wow.
Hard hitter right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Stevie ain't going, so it's the other three. So.
Well,
Stevie
only
ain't
one
going.
has got to go.
Okay.
Stevie Wonder, Babyface,
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Smokey Robinson.
What? Oh,
That's rude, Monique.
that is really.
I'm waiting for number 4.
No, 3. We got 3.
Oh, it's 3?
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
Oh.
I'm gonna go
I said it-
first.
I said it's gonna hurt.
Okay.
Wait, Leanna, first of all, I'm gonna judge you right off bat for being able to answer that question. this
I'm
quick.
with. I'm actually
All right, go
ready.
ahead,
I'm
go
ready.
ahead.
I'm ready to go.
Go ahead, Leanna.
So for me, growing up, why are you laughing? Growing up, my brother played, I don't know if it was like the best hits of Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. But it
We
was
had
like,
that album too.
and we had one of those 5-disc players.
Yes. I remember this.
I'm too
And
poor.
he would press play, and I would hear back to back to back to back all of Stevie Wonder's hits. So Stevie Wonder music to me is like in my childhood, in my soul. Like I
It is
cannot-
ingrained in
It
the
is
fabric of who
ingrained.
you are.
It is ingrained.
Yeah.
And not to mention that the
Mhm.
Casey JoJo remake of
Lately.
lately
Yeah.
is also in my soul. You know, I
Yes,
sing
yes.
Casey's part and JoJo's part when Monique doesn't do a good I think he's
We had our little duet.
so he's got to stay. Babyface also has to stay for me. Babyface has to stay. Like, do you understand? Babyface has written music for like everybody.
Everybody.
Like,
And during the Versus album, he let it know he's like that. He said, "That's my white music for you.
Yes.
Y'all don't even know about that
Dun,
catalog.
dun, dun,
Y'all don't even know
dun,
about that
dun.
catalog."
Yes. Like, he's like, oh yeah, okay, let me bring it back to maybe some tracks that you know. So he can't go anywhere. He can't go anywhere. So for me,
Be
it's
Smokey.
Smokey. Smokey's gotta go. Smokey's gotta go.
I heard Smokey.
Smokey Robinson wrote for the Temptations.
Yeah, no, Babyface has to go. Leanna is not really thinking about this all the way through. Because what she's not thinking about, she's not thinking about everything that would have to go if Smokey went. So, I mean, if Smokey goes, arguably, I mean, Stevie wouldn't have even had a place to have laid his place.
She always does this.
No, but because you got to connect it.
No, we're not doing the connection.
Domino effect.
You gotta connect. I mean,
all right, Stacia, it's Babyface.
Babyface.
That is so hard.
And I got no ready. Appeal.
That Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. Oh.
Smokey got to go.
Oh exactly. Oh my God.
Smokey got to go because I can't get rid of the first two Boyz II Men albums.
Oh, okay.
I can't do it. I can't get rid of End of the Road. Like, if End of the Road had never existed, like, if you love me again, like, oh, well,
Water runs dry.
Water runs
dry.
I download that. I forgot how good, but
just can't. Like, I'm a huge, massive. Well, to be fair, Smokey wrote basically for Motown.
Yes,
basically for Motown. I wasn't really there for Motown.
Neither
and
was
like, I mean, I appreciate it. Like, Temptations is, I think, is the greatest male group that's ever existed. But I can't take Boyz II Men away. So,
well said.
And ain't nobody touching Stevie. So, you know,
well Siobhan.
I gotta agree with Stacia. I have to. I mean, I'm sorry, Babyface. I'm sorry, but we've talked about this. That was the backseat of my mom's Mercury Sable. My childhood was Motown. That's it. That's all. My childhood would be silent. Okay.
Without Smokey.
Without Smokey and
But
Stevie.
Siobhan, you don't really listen to music now.
So she wanted to say something.
She wanted a childhood.
What I'm talking about right now.
She wanted to cuss you just did, but she thought about it. She was like, I am on this podcast.
I'm just saying,
so I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
You really did feel
about
the
like
way she looked at
the pause that she took was like, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not.
I had to go through like 5 different reactions.
You know what you are. You know what number you are.
Before I arrived at whatever sound came out of my mouth.
A lot of different ways. Let me.
I know. It was almost like Beautiful Mind, you know, in that movie where they see all the like words flashing by. It was like we could see all of those flashing by. And you were
okay.
Use any of them.
So
it's. I feel like I should just say Babyface out of spite right now. just to spite Leanna. Just to make her mad.
All right. So Siobhan is Babyface.
Monique's the tiebreaker.
Baby, let's do
let me just first start off with a little story. When Smokey Robinson first got on Twitter, he didn't know.
What? Okay.
What?
When Smokey Robinson first got on Twitter,
yes,
he didn't know that like famous people didn't follow back everybody who followed him. So like I was one of the first people to follow him, and then he followed me back.
That would be very.
Oh, God.
Keep smoking because he followed you on Twitter.
Listen, let me just explain. And then he was on like the Tonight Show or something, kind of explaining that somebody had to explain to him, like, no, you don't really follow back everybody. He was like, but that's kind of rude to like not follow them back. They following me, I follow them. Right. I feel like I have a personal connection to Smokey Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
But he still have to go.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Well played. Well played.
There's no way I could get rid of Babyface. I mean, I understand the domino effect that Smokey Robinson music will have, the absence of it. But
no, you don't, because
no,
if
no,
one
I
of them
do.
has to go and everything goes with them,
I do understand. I do understand. But I just can't, like, that Waiting to Exhale soundtrack is my favorite breakup album. You know, that album you like.
But
when
you're
you
not breaking
really-
up with
I was
nobody.
gonna say, when's the last time you broke up with somebody?
Listen, me and Carl could break up all
And
the time. We
friendship,
don't
and
go nowhere.
friendship.
We all still here.
Down on the knees, we
But when you
say
want to act like
friendship.
you leaving, why does
Waiting to
it
Exhale.
hurt so bad?
Oh my god.
I love that album. And it has brought me through sometimes. And I can't get rid of Babyface. So, and it's like Stevie Wonder wasn't even an idea.
Foundation, y'all are just ripping the foundation out.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to say this real
Out from under
quick,
the
and
house.
I just have to say it, that I believe that Tori Kelly may have just released one of the best 3 Christmas albums of all time ever. It's that
Wow.
Writing it
good.
down.
Really?
It's
Wow.
that good. You know who produced it? Babyface.
And with
I
that,
wrote it down.
I'm saying, you if you don't listen to it, you only hurting yourself.
And he's a musician. Do you see his sweatshirt?
The sweatshirt don't lie. No, it's really that good. I mean, you know, R.I.P. Smokey, but you know.
Or no, not R.I.P. Smokey. Smokey's still alive with his, you know.
Well, not according to this
But
list.
I was gonna say he just killed him. The 3 of them just
Okay.
killed Smokey.
Got it.
Yeah, he's
Just
over.
killed him. Just
Okay.
thoughtlessly.
No, I mean, I put thought into it.
Oh,
It's
premeditatively.
Yeah, I put thought into it. I did think about it.
Maybe
Well,
the worst.
all right. Well, that's my game, and I think it was fun. So
Very good.
I know it was
I,
painful, but
I still feel the type of way though. That was a good one because I still feel the type of way.
yeah.
All right.
All right,
Well, ladies and Gerald, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Listening audience, thank you for hanging in. I hope you had as good of a time as we did. This was fun. This was a fun one.
Beautiful time.
So check Gerald out. Stay tuned for another episode next week. And we hope that you all have a confabulous day.
Continue the experience on our social media handles at the Confab Experience.